This is Janet TV on the radio, and you're listening to Bring It In with Coach T, where we catch up with athletes and coaches from around the world. It's my favorite time of year where the NCAA Division I softball teams leave it on the field for a trip to the College World Series in Oklahoma City. So after the first weekend of play, the regional games had some upsets and dominating performances. The teams will advance to the best-of-3 series, the Super Regionals being held this weekend. Heather, softball didn't always have a super regional weekend. They used to go straight from regionals to the World Series. Do you know why they added the super regional weekends?
I'm guessing to create more games. I don't know.
It was to actually prevent powerhouse programs such as UCLA and Arizona to play another weekend in hopes of allowing other teams the chance to go to the dance. And it worked because we were getting a mixture of teams, but we're also seeing more fans of the College World Series. I mean, they've had to update the whole stadium, so.
I'm wondering if that's more like the talent has grown, the popularity of the sport has grown, the capability, maybe that's grown a little bit, and the sport itself.
Well, you're right. I think, they also have key players, specifically pitchers, like OU's pitchers from last year, and I think they've got girls who have gotten a lot of popularity and, notoriety, and so people wanted to see them. And I think it's just Oklahoma City has put together a great tournament down there.
Well, like you said, at one point in time when you'd go to the games, you'd sit in the outfield like sit in the grass. That grass isn't there now. It's completely stands.
Well, let's talk about Nebraska. They took the regional title by beating the 15th seeded team in back-to-back games. The Huskers won 4 consecutive games in less than 23 hours, outscoring opponents 30-6 in those games. Heather, playing any consecutive game is exhausting, and usually by the last game there isn't any fuel left in the tank. That was not the case for Nebraska. What do you think that tells you about their team and their program?
Oh, I think it speaks volumes. Last season they were really close. They did well. They just, fell short. They had trouble putting runs on the board. They had trouble in pitching. And it just fell apart for them last season. But that clearly has been addressed, and there have been some holes filled because 4 games in less than 24 hours, and that kind of run production is nuts. This sounds like a football game. They're putting together a great, great team, and I think that they're going to be, barring any injury, barring any fluke, game where they just completely self-destruct, I think they're going to be in the World Series, and they could possibly make it to the final game.
Well, you can't do these amazing things, beating Missouri, without phenomenal players, of course. And Nebraska had an unheard-of performance by a sophomore, Haley Decker. She hit 2 home runs in the if-necessary game against Missouri to clinch the title. But get this, she also hit 4 2-run home runs on Sunday, earning 8 RBIs in Game 2. And then she was also 3 for 4 with a pair of 2-run home runs and 4 RBIs. So I'm not sure if, they didn't do their scouting or they just have this superstition where, they can't hit 2 home runs in one game.
Well, she's putting up numbers that some people don't put up during the season. That's nuts. Clearly there have been some mass preparation done. They did scout the teams. It's obvious that they knew who they were going up against, and maybe, Mizzou's pitcher just went right into their sweet spot, Sometimes it comes together like that. You have a great team, and then you get just run over because you match up so well with the other team's strengths in a bad way for you. So clearly they got some hitters.
What they've done is give them a boost of confidence, which they will need as they play number 2 Alabama this weekend for the Super Regionals. Michigan opened up the field as they threw number 9 Arizona State off balance by hitting 2 home runs in the 7th inning to take down the home crowd favorite 5-4. Prior to Michigan getting the chance to hit, senior Lindsey Doyle reached over the center field fence. She pulled back a home run ball from Arizona State for the 3rd out, leaving the Wolverines behind 3-4 in their last at-bat. I can't believe she reached over the fence and saved that home run. And it gave them momentum going into the last inning. Sophomore Sierra Lawrence had her second solo shot of the game, and she tied it, leaving the next batter, senior Taylor Hasselbeck, who swung at the very next pitch and drove it over the right center wall for the game-winning run. Hasselbeck entered the at-bat 1 for 10 in the tournament. Heather, how much confidence did Hasselbeck's coach show in her to leave her in the lineup after going 1 for 10?
I mean, that's a gutsy move by the coach because, you know, you get antsy. You want to change things. You think, maybe if I just do this one thing, that'll be the ticket. I don't know how many games we've watched together and how many times you've said, oh, she's 0 for whatever she's due. She's 0 for, she's 1 for 6. She's way due and at the bottom of the order. And, I mean, first pitch swing, you see a fat pitch on the first pitch. I mean, come on. 1 for 10 hitter, you generally go back and go right at him because you kind of, as a pitcher, get a little overconfident knowing, I got this. And you throw a fatty out there, and the next thing you know, it's gone. And that's what happened. The home run, Rob, from Michigan, I mean, that's the kind of defense that wins you games. You have to have that because as a pitcher, you get tired. I mean, you have to have those times when your defense bails you out. And, your arm's tired, you're sore, you're weak, and your legs feel like jello, and your team backs you up like that, it does nothing but cause them to bond together and rally like they did. I mean, that's amazing. That is teamwork.
Well, going 1 for 10, as you can imagine, I don't think she had anything to lose. So, and like you said, usually pitchers try and get a strike on their first pitch, and she must have known that. So, props to her. And sometimes as a coach, you have to make decisions based on faith and obviously not sense. Michigan now takes on number 8 Florida State for their super regional bid. The last team we're going to talk about, Minnesota, surprised everyone at their regional by defeating Auburn in the second of 2 elimination games, winning 8-6 to reach its first NCAA super regional and to prevent the host Tigers from the same accomplishment. Heather, do you think after Auburn gets over their loss, they'll be happy that another team went to super regionals for the first time?
No. No. You're never happy when you lose. Doesn't matter who to. I mean, the only consolation that ever happens is if the team that knocked you out wins the whole thing. And you're like, well, I mean, we lost to the champion. That's the only time when you're like, I'm not okay with it, but they won the whole thing. So, is Auburn going to be okay with it? No. No. I wouldn't be surprised if half those girls are working out right now because they're so mad. Make it next year, Auburn.
Well, Minnesota is going to need all pistons firing in their first super regional as they face top-seeded Oregon, who is 52-7 in Oregon.
I mean, that's what happens. I mean, you make your first one, and sometimes you run into a powerhouse like Oregon who's put up some serious numbers, some serious defense. It could be a great game, but I could see it really getting away from Minnesota. If they're not careful, it takes one slip up, and you get Oregon rolling, and they get that momentum, and they don't stop. That's a tough draw. But you're in the super regionals.
Well, no matter what, we're in store for more excitement as the teams fight for their well-deserved spots in the College World Series. So stay tuned with Janet TV. This is Coach D, and you're listening to Janet TV on the radio.